Our speaker this morning is Noah Toole. Noah is a four-year student from Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Shout out. He's co-president of the Student Government Association and a representative on the DEI and bias speech committees. He's captain of the varsity boys soccer team and track team. He's the proud brother of Ronnie and Jalen and the proud roommate of Gilbert Saunders. Noah?
Thank you, Wesley. You only live once. That phrase, YOLO, is very commonly said, and some may think it is cliche. However, if you stop and truly think about it, you'll begin to understand the deep truth in the phrase, you only live once, and how you can change your life for the better by remembering this every day of your life. The morning of January 22nd, 2020 began with a weary awakening. Sweat dripping off my shirt, eyes that were bloodshot, and a mouth that could not close. The dream that emerged from a deep sleep was one that I would never forget. A vivid message was placed into my head from that dream that has and still haunts me to this day. A constant thought of, don't drive, do not drive today. I was fearful yet optimistic, but these thoughts persisted to pester my mind throughout the day. Thankfully, I did not drive to school because I was tired from a challenging track practice and a stressful night of studying the day before. At the time, I only had my permit and was usually forced to drive with my mom to and from school. This morning, however, my mom was willing to let me eat and sleep in the car that morning. I drove home after practice that day. Next thing I know, I opened my eyes, gasping for air, choking on nothing and everything, and my tongue bleeding. Debris raining, dust being inhaled, and my stomach twisted like an accordion. I was unable to truly comprehend what just happened. I turned to my dad, who has his mouth wide open but is unable to breathe. I yell, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He tells me to stay calm. The car, a volcano erupting heat into my soul, was smashed in the front. An ambulance rushed in, along with the fire department and police. Unable to truly comprehend what just happened, I fell to my knees on the wet grass on the side of the road. I burst into tears because I couldn't fathom the idea of what just occurred. This should have never happened. I knew better than this, and yet it still happened. I had just been in a car accident. As I gathered enough strength to stand, I staggered over to my dad, who was just getting out of the car, to see how he was doing. I was worried about my dad, who has endured 3 car accidents, and most importantly, the loss of his first child, my brother Avery, to a car accident. He always wanted us to take precautions when driving so that we did not end up like Avery. He was our protector, and when my older brother and I began to drive, he was very conscious and cautious. He always explained to us that he always loved to drive us around because he was in control. And God forbid, if something happens on the road, he would be the one to save us and steer us from any danger that was within his grasp. That is a true father. That is my father. As we were in the hospital, we were treated for injuries and kept there for a little bit longer so that the doctors could examine how we were feeling. My father's back was aching and he was showing it too. That's what hurt me the most. Seeing my dad in pain, knowing that I was in a sense of responsible for all that occurred. My chest, head, and shoulder were in excruciating pain, but I was released from the hospital beside my dad. My parents told me it was okay, but deep in my head, I thought to myself, I thought about my dream of how I shouldn't have driven that day. I thought about how disappointed I was within myself and how I could have killed my dad or even myself. They told me to close my eyes and try to sleep, but I couldn't. Not without reliving every single emotion and feeling that I had during the accident. I didn't know whether I'd ever be able to sleep again because I had this underlying feeling of guilt that lingered in the back of my head 24/7. I fell asleep at the wheel and almost died alongside my dad. There are still nights to this day when I relive the exact moment. I almost died because of sleep and it still haunts me. I never thought that my life could be taken that quickly until that moment. That accident has given me a new sense of awareness. Yes, a better sense of awareness of my surroundings, my body, and how I'm feeling. But most importantly, an awareness of how truly fragile life is. There's this quote, I forget who it's by and when I heard it, but this quote accurately represents my mental state at the time of my accident. It reads, "Every man has 2 lives. The first is when he is born, The second starts when he realizes he only has one, end quote. After all this time, I think I can say that my car accident has actually been one of the most beneficial things that have occurred in my life. Without a doubt, I still think about the severity of what happened, and sometimes I even fall back into that guilt trap of how it is my fault and my dad and I almost died. But without that accident, I don't think I would have had the appreciation for life that I have now. I don't take the little things for granted anymore, whether that be staying up with my roommate Gilbert and laughing about the dumbest things all night, to getting a small compliment about my fresh cut. I try to soak in every moment of every day. I take advantage of every day in any way that I can because I often remember how everything that I have can be taken away within an instant. Another time when my life drastically changed was on June 3rd, 2021. This day affected every aspect of my high school and future college career. I was at a college prospect camp in Connecticut, playing in front of about 60 coaches, some of whom I was talking to or already held offers from. The coaches played me an outside back, but that's a role player's position, one that is often overlooked at camps. I made a very good name for myself on the defensive side, but rarely touched the ball on the offense. On the first day, I was playing a normal game, attacking up the side and trying to find our forward making a diagonal run. And on the defensive side, I was just going to not let anyone by me. The second day came around and I just wanted to prove why I was there. It was the second game of the day where I was guarding this one kid who's now a freshman at Maryland. I tried to stay low because his height was closer to that of my shoulders. I forced him to the goal line and waited for him to make a mistake or show a sign of where he was going. I saw that he made a larger touch than normal and pounced at the opportunity to take the ball. I took the ball and made a large forward touch and looked up the field to clear it up to my forward. I planted my left knee, then pop. My knee kept going and I fell right to the floor. I was in a heap of pain, but more confused and angry than anything. I didn't go to the doctor for a while because I didn't want to get any bad news. My parents took me to get an MRI just to see what the verdict was. The doctor came back and sat me down, but he didn't have that positive, "You're going to be fine, it just takes some time" kind of look. He had an, "Okay, kid, sit down so I can break the bad news to you in the best way" kind of look. That was the day that the bad news I dreaded came true. I had torn my ACL. He talked about how soccer had the highest chance of ACL injuries and that he had this conversation with my older brother 3 years prior. He told me that I tore my ACL and meniscus because of how dedicated I was to playing soccer. I tried to play on it for another month to help me get recruited by more schools. To no avail, it only caused more damage than good. I ended up getting surgery on July 20th. I didn't realize the mental struggle of an injury, or at least one to that magnitude. I wasn't able to walk for 2 weeks, hang out with anyone for 2 weeks, and barely ate during that duration. My mother was a saint in her care for me. I was grateful to be alive, but that was about it. There wasn't a single thing that brought me joy for a long time. I hated everything. I would watch TV while using the machine to bend my knee and would cry in excruciating pain while no one was watching. I would go onto my deck and just look at the clouds and ask God, why me? For the first time in my life, I was depressed. In every sense and aspect of the word, I was depressed. I was in the worst place I'd ever been. I didn't know how long I could take it, or for much longer. I shut out a lot of people out of my life because I couldn't do anything but sit around and try to stay positive. The days that made me feel like giving up the most were the days when I had to call a coach. But in the past, a call with a coach was more often than not positive and usually about interest or a potential offer. But now anytime I talk to a coach, they would tell me that they can no longer recruit me, they're rescinding their offer, they want me as a walk-on, or they just wish me the best of luck. 7 schools took back their word on me. 10 others just told me to reach out when I'm playing again, which never happened. 17 schools in total gave up on me playing soccer. The school year came around, and honestly, I'd never been so unenthusiastic about a preseason before. Isolated on the sideline, I was forced to participate verbally, keep a positive outlook on life, and also help new students adjust to the school. In my eyes, I think I did a pretty good job, but deep down inside, I still hated life. I never thought that I couldn't do this anymore, but I came very close. I had a lot of long talks with me in tears with Miss McGriff, my advisor. I truly hated life. It took me about 2 months after surgery to finally sit down with myself and just snap out of it. I just tried to remember myself not being able to walk, but I could walk now. I remembered how down I was earlier, but let me be more positive. Let me prove people wrong. Because as many of you know, I'm a petty person by heart. I was able to make rehab mean something. I was able to make school mean something, and I was able to make my relationships with my friends mean something. It was awful being on the sideline, but it made me more mature, emotionally and psychologically. I was able to see things happen because they're meant to happen. When the winter season hit, I was starting to feel like my normal self. I was engaged in class, engaged in sporting events. Fun fact, I was never kicked out of a game this year. And I was starting to see the bigger picture, that track was meant for me. The recruiting process for track was much simpler because it was more objective rather than subjective. Georgetown was one of the few schools that were genuinely invested in my rehab process. They took a chance on me, one that other schools did not. The philosophical idea of determinism started to make a lot more sense to me. I started to truly believe that everything happens for a reason, because without my career-ending soccer injury, I would never have switched my mind to get recruited for track, and I may have never gotten into the amazing school of Georgetown. At the time, it was the worst thing in the world. I hated my life and everything in it for months, but now I'm in one of the most positive mindsets I've ever been. It's low-key kind of hard to talk about a subject like this because I hate feeling vulnerable, as many of you know. I hate opening up to people and talking to everyone about how I feel. If you told the younger me that, I would be up here talking about one of the most traumatizing events of my life and the time I was depressed for months. I would never believe you. The younger version of myself always thought that everyone is going to judge me on what I do or where I go or what I say. I think everyone needs to just find their inner voice and tell it to shut up. Because that little voice is just so annoying. I mean, I didn't get into Hill my first year and I made the most of it. And quite honestly, I wish I did more with my time here. I wish I engaged with more people and participated in more clubs. I wish I did more sports or theatrical performances, honestly. I wish. And I'm going to tell you that little voice in my head to just stop talking and reflect on the things that I did accomplish, but also just realize that if I want to do something, that I should just do it. From the song Wins and Losses by Meek Mill, motivational speaker Eric Thomas opens up with, "You have to eat the dream, you have to sleep the dream, you have to dream the dream, you got to touch, you have to see it when no one else sees it, you have to feel it when it is not tangible, you have to believe in it when you cannot see it, you got to be possessed with the dream. You have to believe in your dream." I'm going to get real motivational over here, so just sit back, I think me personally, if you want to take that art class, just take that art class. If you want to ask out that girl or guy, ask out that person. If you want to try the play or a different sport, go do it, because there is nothing stopping you. Surround yourself with people that want you to be happy, because you will then be happier. You will regret later in life when you didn't do something because you were scared of what your parents would think or what your friends would think or even what you would think about yourself. But I'm here to tell you that if you don't do it now, then it will never be done. Take advantage of your time before it's too late, because I almost died in that car accident. But it makes me think of my brother who died in a car accident, and I relate to this message. Be in control of your life while you still can, because nothing is guaranteed in life, and you need to take charge. In case, God forbid, knock on wood, these moments are stripped from ever happening. Sitting on the sideline of the sport you love and having to put on a brave face while being in physical and emotional pain is not what you want to remember about your time here. That car accident almost killed me, but it would kill me even more if I lived in a constant state of regret. That injury killed my motivation and passion for sports and a lot of other things, but I regret not being better or trying harder prior. Don't be like that and regret anything before it's taken away. Hill is the perfect place for opportunity. You can do anything you want to put your heart towards. I can tell you from personal history, do not be petty. It's never too late to fix it. Do not hold grudges. It's never too late to fix it. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, but not regret. Live your life the way you want to, because you only get one. I know this week may be the last time this group will ever see each other, but I want everyone to know how much they mean to me. My best friends have been made here. Thank you to the Hill School. Thank you to my friends. Thank you to my family. And thank you to each and every one of you for teaching me, molding me, and letting me grow. Even though they are brothers and sisters, L's down. Peace and love, Hill School. Thank you.